Mr. Damon Roberts.
First of all, let me also say thank you to the pastor for allowing us to use this space. Thank you to Claudia, Jim, and Miriam, and many of the other people who helped to organize this event. As they say, Thursday is the new Friday, and you could be anywhere, but you're here, and I appreciate that. My name is Damon K. Roberts. I'm running for City Council in the 2nd District, and I want to ask you for your support. The 2nd District starts in Rittenhouse Square. It goes through Graduate Hospital, Point Breeze, Grace Ferry, all west of Broad until you get to Oregon Avenue. It also goes east of Broad, so it includes the sports stadiums, the Navy Yard, the mouth of the Delaware, and the Schuylkill River fall within this district. It goes into southwest Philadelphia, so it includes the airport. It includes Eastwick, Concessing, Pascal, Bartram Village, etc. It includes the Sunoco refinery. So it's a very diverse district. On the one hand, in Rittenhouse Square, there was a condo that sold for $12.6 million. On the other hand, you have some of the toughest neighborhoods in the city. Our congressional district, out of 435 congressional districts, our area had the second most degree of hunger in all of the United States. So there are some very tough issues that we need to grapple with and deal with in this district. We have a high degree of short dumping and all kinds of various things, but for the first time in almost 40 years, we have, I don't know, is this?
Everyone has 3 minutes.
Yeah, but I was beeping when I started.
That's because I went too long.
Well, I'm from here for the last 11 years, but I'm not originally from here. As far as I've seen, there's been a mix of people from the outside.
I'm sorry. One second.
Let me go ahead. I'll have it in a minute.
But there's been a mix of people from the outside of Philadelphia and in Philadelphia itself. Certainly, some of the positions like the police commissioner and the head of the school district have been from outside. But most of the members of the mayor's cabinet are from Philadelphia, and they've risen through the ranks in Philadelphia. And of course, one example of that is Clay Armbruster, who is the chief of staff in Philadelphia. So I think that we need to make sure that whether people are from the inside or are from the outside, the most important thing is what do they bring to the table. And are they committed to making a difference in Philadelphia? And I believe that for the people that we do have, for example, the police commissioner, I think that we have one of the best police commissioners in the country. So much so that he's being vied for all over the country by other cities. So I think that whether people are from the outside or the inside, we need to embrace them and make sure that they are standing for the principles that we are looking for to make our city the best possible city. One of the things that I did as an assistant city solicitor was to deal with regulatory affairs. And so we did everything from something as small as dealing with neighborhood churches and whether they were violating the city's noise ordinances, all the way to negotiating with Sunoco to reduce carbon monoxide. And there are all kinds of different types of pollution. There's, of course, something as simple as litter, to air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution, light pollution. And within our district, we have some major concerns. Of course, the simplest concern that we have is litter. And that is something that absolutely 100% needs to be addressed. I am a block captain, and I have had the good fortune of working with other block captains to clean up as many as 300 blocks at one time. And so I believe that I'm well positioned to be able to address the litter issue. There's also water pollution concerns. One of the major areas where we see water pollution is at FDR Park itself, otherwise known as the lakes. And there was a time when, and Barbara says she serves as the treasurer there. So the secretary? Okay, yeah. So that you might need to do a better job, yeah. Miss Barbara. But anyway, so one of the major, there used to be a time when you could do, where you could swim and row and do all kinds of different things there. Yeah. Now you don't even want to put your pinky finger into the lakes because it is just so dirty.
Thank you.
My time is up. I am former president of the citywide NAC Alliance, overseeing all the neighborhood advisory councils in the city. I'm also vice president of the board of Habitat for Humanity Philadelphia, as well as the Housing Association of the Delaware Valley. And so I'm very well aware of organizations that need and depend on public funding. And anybody sitting on this panel who sits and tells you that there's going to be increased funding, they're lying to you. You know, it's going to get cut at the federal level. It's going to get cut at the state level. And because the city is so dependent on funding from the federal and the state government, there are going to be cuts at the city level as well. So what we need to make sure that we're doing, besides the obvious things of making sure that you have a strong board, of making sure that maybe you get certain donations. So instead of paying for paper, maybe you get a donation of paper from Staples. Maybe just cost-saving measures like that. But in addition to that, we also need to make sure that the organizations that do exist, that they are as excellent as possible, because we cannot afford to fund mediocre organizations that depend on public funding. We need to make sure that those organizations that are getting funding, I think just like Tracy talked about, are organizations that are not simply dependent upon a political connection, but organizations that are actually doing the work.
Thank you. Yes.
I think that this is just a really brilliant answer on behalf of State Representative Kenyatta Johnson, which is exactly why we need to keep him in Harrisburg. My name is Damon K. Roberts. I'm a small business owner, and at the end of the day, what business owners are looking for is the bottom line. If we're going to be increasing the bottom line for people on Point Breeze Avenue, then what we need to do is make sure that there's what you call walkability, that there is walk-in traffic along business corridors. And the only time that you see walk-in traffic is when a couple of things happen. Number one, the area has to be perceived as safe. It certainly helps that there's a 17th Police District that's right down there, but we need to make sure that that the police are walking the beat or on bike patrol along Point Breeze Avenue. Secondly, the area has to look attractive. And so it's certainly good that that Diversified moved here because that really helped the area to look a lot better. There's going to be a new cafe that's going to be at 20th and Federal. That's going to help. The third thing is that you need to attract businesses that people actually want to come to. So you can't have every other business be another place where you could buy weaves. You have to have. There ain't nothing wrong with weaves, but we need to make sure that I mean.
You hear that, sister? You hear that? No more Beverly Johnson. He said it.
Nah, that's not what I said. We can't have 6 more weave places. We haven't. But what we do need, in my opinion, are maybe a movie theater, an upscale restaurant, and a supermarket where healthy foods are served, like a Trader Joe's or a Whole Foods.
Thank you.
I'm a small business owner, and beyond the value of whatever product it is that you are selling or serving or giving to people, the most important asset that you have are the people who work for you. And it is critical that we make sure that those people are taken care of. Quite frankly, it is something that leads to a boost in morale. When you have some sick days that are paid for, it leads to people not having to choose between taking young Johnny to the hospital versus taking a day off. So it is important, I think, that we be able to institute a policy that would allow us at least to have some sick days for people, whether they work for the city or whether they work for small businesses. My name is Damon K. Roberts. I'm a former track athlete at the high school and the collegiate level, and I also coached high school track, and I coached Pee Wee football. And I think that it is essential, if we're going to ask our kids to get off of the street corners, that we make sure that there are appropriate recreational activities for them to do. Because if we don't engage our kids, whether it be through art, whether it be in a park, whether it be through music, whether it be through the arts, whether it be through poetry, whatever, then we are also going to face another cost in terms of lower income that comes from them, or paying for them to be in prison, or what have you. So it is critical that we look at the parks and recreations. I'm the only candidate sitting here who fought for the pools to stay open.
Not true. Not true. Not true.
I was at the forefront of fighting for with the coalition to save the libraries, save 11 libraries across the city, save 29 pools from being closed. So parks and recreation is very much at the top of my agenda.
Thank you.
I was the first candidate, not just in the 2nd Council District, but in the city, to sign on to the next great city agenda for City Council.
Yes, that's true.
I was the first one that signed on. You weren't even at the meeting. You were not at the meeting. I signed on with when there was something for at-large candidates, when it wasn't even required for us to go. Before anybody else signed on, Damon K. Roberts is right there at the top. I'm not saying you didn't sign on later. I'm just saying I was the first. Nevertheless, included in that plan is what we're going to do with respect to the 40,000 vacant and abandoned lots in this city, of which almost a third are owned by the city itself. There's been a lot of complaints about the drop program. However, we are spending more simply to maintain the vacant and abandoned properties than we're spending on the drop program. $20 million a year is being spent simply to maintain the city-owned vacant and abandoned properties. And so it is essential that what we do with it, number one, is to rehab those properties. Number two, to create affordable housing. Number three, to do open space. And number four, where those vacant and abandoned properties are along business corridors, we need to make sure that we're turning them into viable businesses as well. I am a former high school teacher, and charter schools. Hey, look, I'm just telling you I'm just telling you what I did. That's all. You know, before I went to law school, I was a high school teacher. Okay, so
Very worthy.
hey man, look. Hey, don't put that on my time. Don't put that on my time. Don't put that on my time. Don't put that on my time.
She's going to reset it.
Everyone has your.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Can I have everyone's attention, please?
Oh my goodness. But in order for charter schools were originally designed to be experiments that would inform the public school system. And we're talking about parenting as it relates to education. What we've found is that, of course, there's some charter schools that just don't work at all. And there are some charter schools that do work and that work very well. And the ones that do work very well, and as an example, there's a Mastery charter school system that works very well. What they found is that there are three components that help it to work. Number one, you have to have solid teaching. Right? And all the things that good administration, small classroom sizes, longer class days, longer class years, good curriculums, all that type of stuff, right? Teachers that care. The second thing that you need to do is to make sure that parents are involved. They have to be, it has to be virtually mandatory that parents are involved. And when that's the expectation, and parents do in fact live up to it, then you see that there's great increases in terms of performance in the classroom. And then the third thing that you need is, of course, the students themselves taking responsibility regardless of their circumstances. So stuff is tough at home, well, you still have to take responsibility. Johnny got shot down the block, you still have to take responsibility for your education. And when that happens, then excellence, no excuses, which is the Mastery Charter School motto, then you start to see that being sort of lived in the kids. I think the question was the Promised Neighborhood Initiative as it relates to Auden Reed. And again, the state representative is correct that it is based on the Harlem Children's Zone, and Harlem Children's Zone started out on one block, and then it continued to expand to a few blocks, and then a few more blocks. And the idea is that you take care of the community from a comprehensive perspective, so that we make sure that there's a job for people, that illiteracy issues are being addressed, if there's people being battered at home, that's being taken care of, that if there's alcoholism if there are diseases at home, if there's all kinds of different things, that they're all being addressed from a comprehensive perspective, so that when that kid goes into school, that they can actually learn. Now, there also are centers of the community, and this is where Auden Reed can be extremely excellent. I mean, it's a beautiful school. It's gorgeous, and it can be the center of the community in terms of recreation, in terms of, adult literacy programs, in terms of teaching parents how to parent in terms of all kinds of different things. So, I think that Auden Reed and other schools as well can be the center of the community. There was a time when we had the midnight basketball leagues. We can do that right there at Auden Reed. Because again, if we are going to ask our kids to step off the streets, we need to make sure that they are positively engaged. So whether they're engaged at Auden Reed, or they're engaged at the Point Breeze Performing Arts Center, or they engage in Pee Wee football, or they engage through some art program that's run through Kappa, or whatever, we need to make sure that our kids are involved and that their parents and the community is all being taken care of at the same time. That's what the Harlem Children's Zone is based on, and it can be replicated right here in Point Breeze and in Grays Ferry.
Thank you so much.
I'm not. My name is Damon K. Roberts. I'm asking you for your support. I'm asking you for your support. I mentioned my name a whole bunch of times because I want it stuck in your head when you go into that ballot box. Damon K. Roberts for City Council. For the first time in almost 40 years, we have the opportunity to choose somebody different other than Council President Verna. I ran against her 4 years ago. I was the first person to run against her in 16 years. 4 years ago, because half our kids were dropping out of school, because our streets were too dirty, because crime was out of control. And 4 years later, we're still dealing with issues of livable communities. And we can't have livable communities when our kids are going to jail. There's no proper training programs for them. They come out and there's no job waiting for them, and so they go back and they reoffend because it's easier to be in prison than it is to be out here on the streets dealing with the real world. You can't have a livable community when our areas are so full of trash and short dumping. You cannot have a livable community if you don't have good government. I ask you, if you want to get the same results that you've always gotten, then vote politics as usual. If you want your election to be determined by who has the most money, then there are candidates who are sitting here who you should vote for. But if you are looking for a voice that was willing to stand up 4 years ago, and that is still willing to stand up now, today, who has put everything on the line, I'm asking you to consider and vote for Damon K. Roberts.